Hi there, business owner. Are you looking to improve your business knowledge? Do you want to see behind the scenes of successful businesses? And more importantly, are you looking to build a better business in just 15 minutes each week? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the 3Bs podcast. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast. As always, I'm your host Stephanie, and this week we've got an amazing guest with us. I am so excited to have this conversation. Hello Callum, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Callum Macrae. I am Marketing Director for JE Consulting. We are a full-service marketing agency for the professional services sectors and other industries as well.
Amazing. I'm so excited for this conversation. So, for those that don't know, I met Callum over a year ago now at an industry event. It must have been at Countex 23.
Yeah, I think it was.
I vaguely remember the first time I saw you this year was in the pub, which is just sums me up, to be honest. But he did an amazing talk on Gen Z marketing, and I thought it'd be really useful to have him come on the podcast because, again, things are changing. Things are always changing in business, and the landscape's definitely changed over the last few years. And Callum is my go-to expert on all things Gen Z marketing. So, can you explain what Gen Z marketing is and what we mean when we say Gen Z marketing?
Yeah, of course. I think obviously quite often you see we do merge the two together, but if you I always look at them, you think of them as separate pieces, it's a bit easier to digest. And really with Gen Z, it's about understanding and connecting with that generation that was born between the mid-90s and early 2010s. So I unfortunately am not a Gen Z. I just missed the window.
Me too.
But really, yeah. But really, the marketing to Gen Z. They're a digital native generation, so they've grown up with iPads, mobile phones really at their fingertips and social media. So they've got a whole different experience really that they want from businesses when it comes to their marketing. So really it's you view Gen Z as that demographic and then the marketing as two separate elements. But the topic itself is becoming, more and more spoken about. I think it's where businesses are realising that they are having to change tactic. And obviously, if you've got certain approaches, you get to explore and do some different things to market to this demographic.
Yeah, we definitely talk about all the time on the podcast that testing and measuring is so important, and just it's okay to pivot and it's okay to change. I think so many business owners are so afraid of changing anything up in their business. They get so set in their ways, and actually they're missing out on such great opportunities because they're not looking forwards. In my head, obviously I am not an expert in this, but in my head, there's two sides to this. There's marketing to a Gen Z client base and using Gen Z marketing techniques. We were saying just before the recording that, we grew up with Walkman cassettes. We used to think we were the coolest thing when CDs came out. And then the iPod came, and now you can access music wherever you are, whenever you want it. And those changes are a key example of the way things are changing and have changed. And we're lucky enough to have lived through all of those changes. Whereas I feel like Gen Z themselves probably don't remember the cassette Walkman time. They don't remember 5 TV channels before Netflix. They don't remember having to wait. I was talking to my daughter the other day, so she's 9.5 now. And I was explaining to her that back when I was her age, we'd have to watch an episode of a TV program and wait till the next week to watch the next one. And the dash to the kitchen for a drink in the advert break. There was no pause button. And I think that's so key to remember that things are changing. And if you're a business owner, you have to keep up with those times.
Yeah, so, 100%.
Yeah, I think from you, what I would really love to share with the audience is your sort of top tips and your experience of things to consider when marketing to a Gen Z client base. I guess most businesses now will have Gen Z clients or customers that they're looking to target.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when it comes to marketing to Gen Z as a client base, whether you've got them in your client base currently or you're trying to recruit them as clients, really, there's 3 things that I'd probably focus on. And the first is it's all about being you. And quite often you'll see brands that are quite worried about being quite genuine and transparent in their brand. But Gen Z love that. They want to see that personality behind a brand. Quite often you will not see them engage with a faceless brand. And I think I'm not too keen on the word authenticity, but it genuinely does matter. And I think it just comes back to being the real you and really trying to showcase that in the marketing that you are doing. So quite often now you will see businesses, whether it be on TikTok and Instagram, as video has just seen a massive surge, that they, they want to bring to life what it's like working for that business or what it's like, being a client for that business. They're trying to bring that to life through video and trying to show that personality a bit more. I think the second thing as well, and again, there's a lot of businesses that talk the talk when it comes to this topic, but diversity. And really, I think there's an increasing amount of pressure, especially from the Gen Z demographic and the alphas that are coming up behind them, for brands to start walking the talk. I think from my experience, obviously working for Iris Software for 13, 14 years before my current role, I've really kind of learnt the power of diversity and inclusion. And again, I think a lot of people talk about it, but if you think that by the end of 2025, it's expected that Gen Z is going to make up 27% of the workforce, which is quite a huge stat. And some research that the ACCA did revealed that over 2/3 of finance professionals alone rated diversity and inclusivity as a top factor when they are trying to choose an organisation to work for. So I think, again, a lot of companies talk the talk. You just need to think about how you're bringing that message across in your marketing as well. And the third would really be about trying to engage through personalised experiences. I think a lot of the times we remember the good examples rather than the bad. And if you always kind of remember that great marketing experience that you had, whether or not you land on a website and it's personalised for you. So it's creating those interactive and memorable brand experiences. And some of the titans in the industry do a really good job of that. But now I've really started to see a shift in small businesses equally trying to do that, just to try and make that, it all comes back to that 5-star customer service as well, and how that feeling passes on to your clients.
Absolutely. And they're things I've not considered yet. They're things that sometimes you do anyway. So the first thing you said was the ABCS UK. It's my practice, ABCS UK. I started off very corporate, very blue and silver, but I am not corporate. I'm the most unprofessional professional you will ever find. And actually, clients want to work with me and my practice because I am normal. I'm just like them. I'm a fellow business owner. I'll say it as it is. I won't use jargon. And when I do, I explain it in an easy to understand format. And actually, the more I put myself out there and put more of my personality, the unicorn branding colours, the more clients connected with me and the more clients that came through the door.
I think you raise a really good point, and I think that links back to the, you are your brand, and I think that's so important, is that you personify that brand, you live and breathe that brand. But when you tap into that, exactly to your point, that people become a lot more receptive to it. And I think Gen Z are very good at seeing through brands. And I always kind of use the Gen Zers that I know as kind of sounding boards, and it's very interesting to tap into their mindset, whether it be family members or friends of family members, and their opinions on things. And when you push them, it's really the brands that are bringing their personality to life. They're the ones that they're absolutely responding to.
That's really interesting. I never thought about talking to Gen Zs that I know. So what's the year range again for Gen Z?
So it's mid 1990s. I think it's 1996 to early 2010s. So yeah, that's the demographic.
What
of
is
Gen
scary
Z.
is that my eldest son falls into that.
I know, well, you've got a Gen Z right there.
I've got one in the house. Like, I'm definitely going to have to start asking his opinion on things. It's funny because he's just started a YouTube channel. He's wanted one for years.
Wow, cool.
And it's something I can see the passion in him. And I'm thinking, at your age, I wouldn't have known. I could just about get an MSN Messenger. Like, I couldn't. Can imagine. And he's found CapCut himself, and he edits it all together, and it blows my mind what he can do.
Yeah, and I think, again, that's a really good. It's a really good point to mention, because I think where we're seeing a natural shift with Gen Z is that they do have a natural entrepreneurial flair, and I kind of almost flip this from entrepreneurship to intrapreneurship. And what I mean by that is, I think businesses have got, a lot of young talent that they can really kind of nurture, but also start to get that young talent to start to take risks and have a bit of fun. And I think, especially with Gen Z, they really appreciate a culture of experimentation. So getting them to do all those things and lean into that side of them. As I say, they've got a very entrepreneurial head on their shoulders. They're full of ideas. And they're also, I think, in my experience, when I've managed Gen Z employees before, when you give them that freedom, they do really thrive. And it allows, you know, as a business, you to explore completely different ideas that maybe weren't on the table before.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's key, isn't it? And I say this all the time on the podcast, but it's okay to fail. I was
100%.
so scared for the first 3 years to take a risk, to change up the branding, to up my prices, to reflect the value I was providing to clients. And once you get over that fear and just give, and if it fails, cool, we'll just pivot. We'll try it, test and measure, give it a go. If it doesn't work, fine. But at least you've not missed out on that opportunity. I feel like even myself missed out on so many opportunities in the first couple of years of the practice and of the 3Bs because I was too scared to take that leap. Getting onto video.
Yeah.
This podcast has been around for nearly 2 years, and I've just taken a jump from audio only to audio and visual. I should have done it 2 years ago, but actually, at least I've done it now, and I've made that step, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think it's such a good point that you mentioned, Stephanie, because I'm a big believer in failing fast and also really creating a culture where it's okay to fail. And I think the biggest risk that a business can do is take no risks at all. And it's really important that you adopt that culture of experimentation. And as you say, you try. If you fail fast, you just move on. But quite often, if you create that culture where you can have that freedom, that experimentation, it's quite often where you'll see the biggest businesses thrive as well.
Yeah, I guess that's another really important point is hiring Gen Z. It's not something I work really hard to hire people who fellow mums, mainly people who have maybe been at home for 15 years raising their children, because a lot of them lack confidence. And I know that my strength is giving people confidence to do things. I take on employees at 45, 46. Like, I am quite happy to train them my way. And a lot of them are technologically scared and fearful. And a lot of them come on as admin or they come on as customer service. And then I can see I have a really good eye for seeing the potential in people. And I've got one now who I'm training up to take over the bookkeeping because I could see that potential in her. She just needed the confidence. So I think it's hiring Gen Z, again, it's the way you would interview them. I guess even like doing it virtually like this rather than making them come into an office, because that's what older generations are used to.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's a lot of, with Gen Z in particular, after coming off the back of COVID, again, we've seen that flexible working, hybrid working balance now. And, you know, I've seen a mix where absolutely that some of them thrive working fully remote. Some of them want to be in an office 4 to 5 days a week. And I think it's about businesses, you know, providing that flexibility as well. But 100%, I think, you know, when I've been fortunate enough to manage Gen Zs and interview them, in my lifetime, it's quite an interesting interview because they're very, as I say, entrepreneurial. They're very keen. They're very career driven, but also they, in my experience, really do challenge your thinking, but in a really positive way. And I think that's as a manager, it's also quite difficult to have that sometimes because you're kind of set in your ways. You've got a strategy, you've got a vision, but actually leaning into people challenging you. Again, it comes back to that diverse thinking, and it's really quite powerful when you kind of lean into that. And that's always my advice, is just lean in and listen. And it comes back to that failing fast. If you lean in, listen, give it a go. If it doesn't work, you turn it off.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Please connect with us on social media. Like, rate and review wherever you are listening to this podcast so that I can help more business owners build a better business. See you next week.